Welcome to our deep dive, or as we might say, isang malalim na pagsusuri. Today, we're not just scratching the surface, you guys. We're diving headfirst into an issue that literally affects every single breath we take, air pollution. We're going to break down the specific causes, the terrifying biological consequences, and the actionable solutions we urgently need. I want to hook you right away with this powerful quote from our source material. Pollution is a major problem that affects human health and nature. I know, it sounds super straightforward, right? But it clearly establishes the massive stakes of what we're dealing with here. We aren't just talking about saving the trees or the oceans in some abstract way. We're talking about a direct, immediate threat to our own bodies.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is where we're actually getting these life-saving facts from. Believe it or not, we're pulling this from a textbook lesson on structuring essays and creating multimodal texts. We're literally learning about pollution through an academic exercise in logic. It's kind of wild, but it's an incredibly effective way to absorb this information.
The source text defines an outline, or a balangkas, as a systematic arrangement of ideas used as a guide for writing. And since our source is teaching us how to structure information systematically, we're going to borrow that exact same logical flow today to really understand the reality of air pollution.
So here is our agenda, pulled straight from that textbook example. 1. Causes. 2. Health effects. And 3. Solutions. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The causes. Time to look at the root of the problem. This part beautifully illustrates how we can narrow our focus to understand really complex issues. On one hand, the text shows a topic outline, which just lists broad categories like water, air, and land pollution. But then it switches to a sentence outline to drill down into the specific details of air pollution. It shows us the intellectual progression from a massive, overwhelming global concept down to very specific targets. When we pull the data directly from that sentence outline, we find our 3 primary everyday culprits for dirty air. We're talking factory smoke, vehicle exhaust, and the excessive burning of garbage. These are not just abstract scientific concepts, right? This is the reality you walk through every single day. Every time you're stuck behind a tailpipe in traffic or smell burning trash, you are looking at the direct, physical sources pumping toxins right into our shared atmosphere. Okay, let's dive into this. We know exactly where the smoke comes from, but how exactly does breathing in this dirty air physically impact our bodies day after day? It's one thing to see smog on the horizon. It is an entirely different thing to understand what that smog actually does to human biology. Which brings us to Section 2, Health Effects, and the severe impacts on our bodies. The source text does a brilliant job of mapping the source of the harm directly to specific medical terms. Our respiratory system takes an immediate, massive hit with bronchitis, asthma, and pneumonia. These aren't just minor inconveniences, folks. They are severe, debilitating respiratory conditions directly caused by the vehicle exhaust and industrial smoke we just identified in Section 1. The specific breakdown from our text plainly states how this pollution causes immediate difficulty in breathing. But it doesn't stop at short-term issues like a sudden asthma attack. It warns us about the compounding danger. It specifically highlights how long-term exposure makes the biological consequences significantly more severe over time. So the crucial point is this brutal equation right here. Long-term exposure equals chronic lung diseases and lung cancer. Take a second and just let that reality sink in. This textbook exercise isn't sugarcoating anything. It is explicitly outlining the ultimate fatal risks of ignoring air pollution. The logical flow perfectly traces a line from everyday smoke straight to terminal illness. All right, Section 3, Solutions. Let's look at the actionable steps to get clean air. The text lays out 2 distinct, incredibly powerful angles of attack for prevention. Step 1, pulled straight from the sentence outline, requires a massive technological shift, the transition to using renewable energy to cut emissions. Step 2, pulled from the broader topic outline, focuses on systemic, legal regulation, meaning the strict enforcement of environmental laws. It is a brilliant, 2-pronged approach. We absolutely need both the innovation and the strict rules to make it work. The logic of this entire outline is crystal clear. We know the causes, we completely understand the deadly biological consequences, and the solutions are mapped out right in front of us. So my final question to you is this. Are we, as a global society, actually doing enough to enforce these laws and transition to renewable energy to protect our lungs? Are we treating this with the real-world, life-or-death urgency it truly requires? Think about that for a bit. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.